Smilex.
There you go, and you're on.
Yeah, Smilex.
Yeah, woo! Yeah, we're happy-go-lucky people. That's what we are. Good God.
All right.
Well,
Who's driving this vehicle?
So we're live. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You guys
All
can.
right, guys. So we got Ryan, and we got Willow, and we got John Jackson Miller.
Yeah.
So we got 3 Uber geeks and a well-known writer.
Can you hear the well-known writer?
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
can hear the
Clear as
well-known
day.
writer. And for anyone that's watching, Ryan has his own pod show, and Willow is a longtime geek like myself,
Yeah, wonder why.
and John Jackson Miller is a nationally best-selling author who has covered Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel. Well, Marvel. Let's see, Iron Man.
Yep.
He's got some Battlestar Galactica in there. There's some Raiders of the Lost Ark in there. You got a little bit. You got a pretty broad spread. Oh, and what was the? Was it Halo?
Yep.
Halo.
Halo, Mass Effect, a couple of others.
Yeah. And now you've got one of our childhood favorites, Batman, right?
Yeah.
And now we're going to talk some Batman-y geek stuff, and we're going to kind of run through the history up to roughly Dark Knight and the '89 movie.
Yep.
And then we're going to transition into your book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I will try to figure out the photos because I'm not able to change the studio for some reason over to the multiverse fundraiser portion.
Gee Willikers, you gotta love these technical snafus that we run into on live television, John Jackson Miller. I gotta tell you, man.
They will load, so go ahead and chit chat, and then I'll let you guys know when I have them up.
Okay.
Chit chat.
So
we're gonna do that.
Chit chat. Oh, well, why don't we just start out with John? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the detective's pulp noir roots and how he started out?
Yeah. So early on, the earliest comic books were not original material. It was comic strips being reprinted. This is 35, 36, 37. So you've got comic books like Famous Funnies. New material doesn't become something that people realize is in demand until you get into 38 with Action Comics #1, and then of course Detective Comics 27 is in 39, and it is really calling back on a number of threads that were in the pop culture in the 1930s. With the Shadow and other sort of pulp characters, and people don't even know what pulp is anymore. This was they had these big magazines that would have multiple stories in each ongoing series. This is a descendant of what they used to call dime novels.
And it was made on cheap, pulpy paper.
Made on cheap, pulpy paper. That's right. And so again, we have this sort of idea of the hero with a mask who's going out and working at night. The Phantom also shows up in this period too. And so Batman as he shows up in Detective 27. And in that first year from Bob Kane, but mainly Bill Finger, and then later we have Jerry Robinson. You've got a character who is significantly different from the Batman that you would see throughout the 50s and 60s. The early Batman was Batman with a gun. There's a story in that first year. Where Batman triumphantly kills all the vampires on Earth, it's not until kind of the end of 39 that they realize, hey, this is a popular character. Let's tone it down a little bit, and they do so by the addition of Robin, and we get these more colorful supervillains. In that stretch, we get Joker, And
John, while you're talking, I'm going to do a screen share because I do have the images on my laptop.
I have no idea what you're showing. Yeah.
Let me let me get that going. But you keep on talking. You were doing just fine.
Yeah. So in this period, you've got a lot of Gotham City is being built out. We've got the car early on. But I think that it's safe to say that the 1930s Batman is significantly, and it's only 1930s for 1 year. That variety of Batman, and then the 40s version is still a good deal different from what we would see later on. It's in this period that we also get other characters like Clayface and Hugo Strange, but again, these are much more rooted in reality figures. They're not completely fantastical yet. The Clayface that you've got is not the shambling mound that you would see later on. And what happens here is Batman, he does become a film star eventually, although again, he does not reach Superman's levels of success. Batman really only he's like the number 3 comic book coming into the 1960s from DC. That is behind Superman, which was number 1 for DC, and which was at the time was still National Periodical Publications, and then also Superboy. So he's still taking a back seat to Junior Superman. But what we see in the 50s is that with the Comics Code coming in, and with the Senate subcommittee having grilled comic books over something that really was not comics, the problem, what was inside the comics, it was something where they ended up making Batman even sillier. We got sort of the growth of the Batman family, with Batwoman, Batgirl. There was a Bat Hound that shows up, and so by the time we're cruising into the 1960s, we have a character that is pretty well removed from those those early darker golden age roots. And what we see is, you get up to, Batman's big moment in the 60s, and that is January 12th, 1966, when the Batman TV series debuts on ABC, and it is very much drawing upon sort of the sillier versions of these characters. With Adam West and Burt Ward.
Let me pause you there, John, just so we can catch up our images, since I've got those loaded.
Yeah, I see the same one image the entire time here.
Right. So, that's because I was struggling with getting it up and rolling.
Okay.
So you may actually remember this, but this is my 1989 Hot Wheels Batmobile that I got at the Sharper Image when it came out, and I've got my Batman Robin collector plate from the 60s. And we're going to move on to our next. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. I apologize, guys. I will be right back.
Alfred, get rid of that focus. Get that image out of here.
There we are. There we are.
There it is.
Okay, so yes, that was Detective 27. Let's
and so we got
back in
that
the day,
one, and then we had Batman come out.
Batman shows up almost immediately in his own series.
And one of the reasons I pulled in this one, it's Batman 1, but also if we flip back and look at the costume between here and the costume a year later, the basic costume designs are now established.
Oh yeah.
And then we got up to 122. You're starting to see additional characters, Catwoman coming in, things
That's
like
her first
that.
cover.
Right. I kind of like the way she's tearing at Robin there.
I didn't know Catwoman wore capes.
That, at the time, yeah,
At the time, yeah.
because
Way to go,
cats
And
need
then-
capes to get around.
And this is
True.
where, and this is why I wanted you to slow down, because we made it to the 60s.
We've hit we've hit the moment here. So yeah, this is actually a scene from the movie, and in fact, that tells you how popular the Batman TV series was. That it immediately got a movie spinoff, and you know it was something where it was a fad and a phenomenon. In 1966, what they would do is they would show 2 episodes in the same week. They would show them on consecutive days. So you would get the first half, and then at the end it would be how can Batman and the Boy Wonder survive this particular disaster? Tune in tomorrow, the same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah, because I remember an interview with Cesar Romero, and he would say, "Yeah, I'm always winning on Wednesday, but then I lose on Thursday."
Yeah, that's kind of how that goes. And so what happens here is it is a fad. Remember about the thing that's going on with the 1960s. You have a combination of several things going on. You've got the baby boom, which has just generated a whole lot of teenagers. You've got you've got technology coming in. In the late 50s, television has gone from something which was mainly focused in New York and Philadelphia and Chicago, and now it's something which has gone all across the country. So the tastes have gone. The tastes have changed quite a bit to where the number one show of the 1960s is the Beverly Hillbillies, because it is a show that is popular in the hinterlands, which finally have a TV, and then we just have these other pop cultural sensations. 1964 is the Beatles coming to America. 1966 January is Batman. 1966 September is Star Trek. And these things all sort of bubble up and carry other things along with them. And what they carried along with them in the case of comic books was the comic series. Batman became the number one comic series in the industry in 1966 for the very first time. And it does not hold that post. It starts declining because unlike the other things I mentioned, the Beatles and Star Trek, Batman was very much more of a they called it a camp phenomenon or campy. It was something that was appreciated by a lot of its viewers. Ironically, they knew it was not good, or they knew that it was silly, or this is the sort of thing that has a very limited shelf life. One wonders if they had, if the Police Squad TV series, which incidentally has scripts by Robert Wool from Batman '89, Alexander Knox, and they're now showing those episodes on one of the TV antenna channels called Catchy Comedy at late at night. Or no, actually it's like, I think it's MeTV right now. It's Saturday nights. If they had shown that for more than just those 6 episodes, but if they had shown it for 2 straight years, twice a week, you wonder whether it still would have kept its audience at a certain point. And what happens is, Batman on TV is gone within 2 years, and it does start. Sales do start declining, and we do have a bit of a renaissance in the comic book itself, and that's the next slide you had there, which was we get into the 70s, and
now we're getting into your and my generation.
Not mine yet, but
this is where, because once you get into the 70s and you get into Neil Adams.
In Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil, the writer, the Neils, Batman becomes more rooted, and we get the detective Batman again. We get villains, as you see here, Ra's al Ghul, who you pronounce his name differently depending on when you grew up. You have that happening, but Batman's sales continue to decline, and in fact, by the time you get to 1985, the regular series I think is number 31 out of everything, and so it's it's gone down quite a bit. But what has not changed is the public perception of comics has really been transformed and imprinted by that most popular version of it, which was the TV show. You had
kind of hold on to that thought there, John, because I've got something for that one coming up. Can we get the next image up? There's Neil Adams.
Yep.
That is my Batman right there.
Oh,
and this is the beginning of the definition of actually kind of Michael Keaton's, because it's got the darker, grimmer kind of look. And now I don't know. I sent you a little quick message. I don't know if you ever had this treasury.
Nope.
Okay. I've got a couple pictures in here just because they're very cool and we can talk about them. So you got a Neil Adams cover, but if you'll notice that the images in the spotlight are older designs.
Yep.
And so when we go into the book, here's one of your nice classic stories. And if you'll notice down here in the corner where they're sitting at Wayne Manor and over the radio, calling Batman and Robin wherever they may be.
Yep.
And it's G. Henry Mover, the head of the FBI, will meet you.
Yep.
So, no bat signal yet. And then there's your classic Joker right there. And if you notice down toward the bottom, you got the car with the bat fin. But here's one of the little money shots. If you've never seen this, John, this was the interior cut of the Batcave in 1968.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the toys, you got the Batjet, and he had vertical liftoff well before we ever had vertical liftoff. And the cutaway on the Bat Belt, if you ever wanted to know what the Bat Belt had in it in 1968, there it is for you. And then we're
not up to that yet. We're not up to
that yet. So we'll just pause here and let you kind of catch up the 70s a little bit.
So what's happened is the general public still thinks comics are sort of stranded in Adam Westworld. The public perception of them, and there are attempts to change that. Because the comics are in this period changing, because in the 70s, you're starting to get this next generation of comics creators doing things. And particularly as we move into the 1980s and the comics industry is no longer shackled by the comics code, because the comics are now being sold in comic shops. They're able to tell more serious stories and more dramatic stories. What the TV producers are able to do is still quite a bit different. So, we have in there, the Wonder Woman TV show from that airs on CBS with Linda Carter. We get a spate of Marvel series that the closer to the comic book versions of the characters they are, the worse the shows do. So we have the Amazing Spider-Man is basically a detective show, and he's a guy throwing nets on people and doing the same, crawling on buildings sideways, the same way that we saw in the Batman show. You got a Captain America 2 TV movies that were not something we'll continue to talk about. And then there was a decent Doctor Strange TV movie, but the only Marvel show that ended up doing well at all was the one that was the least like the comic book, and that was the Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. But in general, outside of the one main big event we got, and that is Richard Donner's Superman and Superman 2, to the extent that was Donner's. You don't have anything really out there saying comics can be a serious business. And what happens is
it is interesting that
Yeah.
when Superman came out, I mean,
Yeah.
you remember the tagline, and we're actually skipping a little forward in our outline here, but when that tagline came out, it was "You'll believe a man can fly,"
Yep.
and that really did kind of shift some of the perception of how the superheroes were viewed.
It did. The problem is it didn't take, and so we get obviously a third Superman movie, which is got Richard Pryor in it,
Richard Pryor, yes.
and then we get a fourth one, which is actually the last major superhero movie released before Batman, and so pretty much at that point, what was the consequence? The consequence was, to the general public, all the articles that people were seeing about comics were, you'd have headlines that would say, "Biff Pow Bam, comic shop opens in a local strip mall," or something like that, or "Holy guacamole." The phraseology, the terminology was always couched in references to the TV show. And this was not what was going on at all in the industry, which takes us up to our next slide, which is we've got Frank Miller, who is playing off of some of the very early themes of Batman and bringing it into the 1980s and with sort of this grim and gritty thing that's going on. That he, continuing what he started with, Daredevil over at Marvel, and so we've got a much more serious version of Batman that is appearing in these comics and lots of other comics, and so all right, what happens here? One of the next generation of people in comics to get involved here is Michael Uslan, who's a fan. He's done work for the industry. He in I think it's either the late 70s or early 80s, with Benjamin Melniker gets the rights to the Batman films, the Batman film rights, and it is really Michael's intention that they come back to Batman come back to this big screen after that 1966 movie with something that is more serious, more reflective of what's going on in the comics. And it is a long haul because they try several times. There are a number of different people whose names get attached to the project. Harlan Ellison is there at one point. Steve Englehart ends up involved at one point. And the wheels turn and finally things come together once we get Tim Burton assigned to the picture, and then Michael Keaton is cast, and that is where kind of the backlash or the pre-backlash happens, because the fans are
that.
Yeah, that's a cartoon that was in Comics Buyer's Guide. Holy celluloid moviegoers! It's another bat crime caused by that imp back casting, because people were afraid that Michael Keaton, who had most recently played Mr. Mom, there he is with the vacuum cleaner in that image. Not most recently, but he had also been Beetlejuice, and he was known as a comedic actor. The thought was, oh, this thing is going to be silly, it's going to be ridiculous. And Tim Burton, he's also he did the Pee Wee Herman movies. This is and then both of them did Beetlejuice. This thing can't possibly be serious. And Jack Nicholson, seriously, and basically everything came in for debate by fans who didn't have an internet, but did have Comics Buyer's Guide's letters pages. And I actually collected a list of several dozen letters that had appeared from people who would go on to be fairly big names in comics, where they were very, very concerned. This is gonna embarrass all of us. The phrase was, someone said, this is gonna set us back 20 years in public perception. And
John, did that help influence the image that they used for the promotion of just keeping it so clean?
I don't know if it influenced the actual poster. It is generally felt that it is the reason that the first trailer came out when it did. And that first trailer hits in December of '88. It's running with Tequila Sunrise. And that was the thing where more people probably went to see the movie because of the trailer than to see the movie, which incidentally had Michelle Pfeiffer in it. So it's kind of funny. Which
didn't hurt.
Yeah, but didn't hurt. But that first trailer does not have the name of the film in it. It does not have the Bat logo. It does not. It does not. It's got a coming next summer, and that's about it. And so it's kind of really thrown together. There's no music in it at that point because they don't have it yet. But again, this is sort of going on. Now I say the note that the production was shooting itself in the foot with all these cast and crew choices. Well, that's the thing. There were people who knew otherwise at the time. Michael Uslan knew otherwise at the time. You're producing the film. Don and Maggie Thompson at Comics Buyer's Guide were fairly regularly saying in the comments, okay, guys, have you actually seen this clean and sober movie where Michael Keaton plays an alcoholic? This is a guy who can do serious characters. If Beetlejuice has in it a number of fairly dark elements that you can very easily see, working into this kind of a comic book world, and giving it a kind of a different feel to it. Well, that trailer is there, to sort of prove, hey, look at this. We've got some stuff going on. And when we get to the second trailer that has the Batwing in it, it's got the logo, no movie name, just the logo. And it's got Jack Nicholson laughing over the end credits, or at the end credits, but laughing over the logo. By that point, people are starting to go, okay, they have made a statement here. This is going to be new. This is going to be something you haven't seen before. This is not Adam West. This is not the 60s version. This is something new. And so, I think that, when we get to, like February, March, April, the comics industry, the comic shops have started to realize, oh yeah, this could be a big deal. Diamond and Capital City, their catalogs are loaded with buy all the Batman stuff you possibly can because you want to be in on this ahead of everybody else. You've already got more stuff than everybody else. This is going to be the biggest licensing thing in the history of licensing. And that, basically, Star Wars was something that's spread out over multiple years. Batman is going to drop like a bomb.
But Batman was everywhere.
And that summer, indeed, it was everywhere. People were shaving into their heads. It was the logo was everywhere. What was very helpful to the comics industry was there was still a little bit of a gap in getting products into the mass market stores. So by the time you got to July, if you went to Spencer Gifts, you'd be able to get Batman stuff and posters and everything. But there was a good stretch in there where we had a monopoly on some of this stuff, it really did kick off the early '90s comics boom, which was the biggest one we ever had. in terms of number of copies and number of stores and everything else that we had. It was something where Batman went back to number one. We had The Lonely Place of Dying going on in the comics. We also later that year got the first thing that we did in comics that was really entirely influenced, and people's orders were set based on having seen Batmania, having seen this movie.
John, let me let you pause here for a second. We need to do an identification for our charity.
Okay.
And I need to see if Willow can get that file to roll. Our charity is Comics for Kids, most notably known for putting comics into hospitals for children. If you go to the Multiverse Fundraiser website, there is a link fixed at the top to where that you can do a donation. So if we'll give Willow a second here to see if she launches it, and if not, we'll continue on. And we're going to keep rolling.
The Multiverse Fundraiser is a virtual con-a-thon and a charity fundraiser all rolled into one package. This year, we've teamed up with ComicBooks for Kids to raise funds for their cause. ComicBooks for Kids is a charity that provides child-friendly comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. On January 24th through 26th, we'll be providing both pre-recorded and live Comic-Con style content to include celebrity, comic, and writing guests that include Creek Wilson, Jeremy Lee, Leah Williams, Jerry Gaylord, R.J. Conti, John Cosper, and Dean Hill. Visit www.themultiversefundraiser.com for more information and instructions on how to both tune in and contribute. Remember, we're not just raising funds for a good cause. We're raising fun.
All right, and we are back, so please go donate.
Oh, very good.
And okay, yeah, we're
okay. Just finishing that last thought on the impact on the comics business. The first series that's really where all the orders are based on people having seen what happened with the Batman movie is Legends of the Dark Knight, which was that first new Batman series in years, and the orders for the first issue were so incredibly high that DC panicked and said people are never going to be able to sell them all. So they very quickly put 4 different covers, just different colored covers on 1/4 of the print run each, and sort of inadvertently they set off the multiple cover craze. So it was,
we have Batman, the Batman movie to blame for all these
it wasn't the first incidence of variant covers. They were meaningless variant covers, and that was I think that was one of those things where we just were amazed that there were people who wanted one of everything, and that tended to be what happened. Anyway, so what happens is Batman goes to the top of the charts. He does not stay actually at number one for the entire time, because in that early 90s period, we get obviously the X-Men relaunch. We get Image and its launch. We get Valiant showing up. We get the death of Superman. Although Batman joins in there with Batman 500, and you get the whole Nightfall storyline that comes along. But basically, pretty much after Nightfall, mid 90s, Batman is more or less lodged in the top 10, top 5 usually, and stays there. So at least in the comics business, that's where it is. In movies, what has happened is, it impacts all the other movies that come out for the next several years. Anything that's fantasy or action related. so that the very first thing that gets impacted is just the publicity. So you saw the logo for Batman, the movie, and the poster. You immediately start seeing things like for the next summer, the Dick Tracy movie. Its poster is just one big circular thing with Dick Tracy's face. There's a Captain America movie which doesn't really come out, or when it does, we again don't go see it. And that also is a shield. The Flash TV show, which is very clearly influenced by what you've got in the Batman movie, to the point where we've got Danny Elfman music and everything else. We've got the commercials for that have the rotating Flash symbol. So that's kind of the first thing they're able to do. But then other movies pick up on the tone, and they're able to do things that are more serious. 1990, I think the first real movie that feels like Batman, even though it's not a superhero movie, is Sam Raimi's Darkman. And that's in the fall of 90. It's very much a traditional superhero origin story. Then you've got 91, we've got The Rocketeer, which is a small press comic book, more or less done straight, and as a period piece.
That might be one of the best straight from comics to movie adaptations ever done.
And it's hard to imagine it coming out without Batman. It's hard to imagine any of these things coming out based on small press books. Now, obviously, the other one that's in the mix here, and this comes out in March of 90, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is based on a comic book that had 2,000 copies sold in the back of Comics Buyer's Guide in 1984. But that had a cartoon and all this other stuff supporting it. As far as big movies, we enter this phase where suddenly it becomes reasonable to option one of these smaller projects like The Mask or something like that, and then have it be very serious. And I think really the culmination of this, or not the culmination, but kind of what I would say is the zenith of what Batman 89 made possible. In 1994, you've got The Crow, and which is extremely dark, extremely violent. It's a rock opera. It's and is also based on a comic book, but an even smaller press comic book than any of these others. Again, it's just impossible to visualize that being greenlit without Batman 89. Obviously, Batman 89 has a sequel in Batman Returns, but by this point, because the merchandising is onto it, in 1989, the fast food licensee for Batman was Taco Bell, which was really sort of a third tier fast food license. Everybody had hedged their bets on other things. 92 with Batman Returns, it was McDonald's, which was disappointed because the film was even darker and also just had thematic elements that they weren't comfortable with, this ends up redounding to a pendulum swing back in the other direction with Batman Forever under Joel Schumacher, no longer Tim Burton, and then we get Batman and Robin, and it's one of those things where that's that. Now, an amusing thing is that in this process, see, I had reviewed Batman for my college newspaper. I ended up going to see it 12 times, and it was transformational to me because I was aware of all of these things in the past and I was scared about how the movie would turn out. I ended up writing and saying pretty much ever since that the movie redeemed comics, not just Batman, but comics in the pop culture, because it made all these other things possible. This is something I said in '89. And so by the time we get to 1999, I'm working for Comics Buyer's Guide as one of the editors on staff. I'm writing 10th anniversary pieces on the movie. Amusingly, I write in both the 99 column and my 1989 reviews. I have elements in those reviews that would turn up in my new book. Questions that I had asked. We get into more Batman movies. Again, I think it's like 2000. I think I meet Michael Uslan at San Diego. Before I'm involved with any of this stuff, I'm not even writing comics. And we don't have the Batman. We don't have the Nolan movies yet. And I told him about my fandom for the movies, and he said something I never forgot, which is he said, if you look at it, Batman '89, the first movie was Batman in the 30s, Batman with a gun. The second movie, Batman Returns, is in the 40s. We're beginning to get more members of the Rogues Gallery. Then Batman Forever is more Batman in the 50s. Robin is getting more and more important. And then 1960s is Batman and Robin, which is very campy. And he said at the time, you'd hope that if they continued to do movies, and I know he was making sure they were trying to continue to do movies then, it would be cool if for the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we saw that reflected in the film, so that the next one was taking off of Batman as a detective. And indeed, we got Batman Begins with Ra's al Ghul, and then Batman in the 80s, The Dark Knight, obviously corresponds to The Dark Knight, and Batman in the 90s with Bane corresponds to Dark Knight Rises. So and this was something we were discussing in 2000, I think it was. So I thought that was amazing.
Now, but leading up to your book, we wound up with.
So what happens here is there is an attempt to sort of bring Batman 66 back in comics form. There's a series for that. I remember at the time, now that I'm starting to write comic books, and this is like 2010, I remember talking to the editor at DC of the line while I was at San Diego, and I said, hey, if you ever want to do Batman '89 comics, I'd love to. And he said, yeah, you're like the 40th person to ask that. And so I was pretty sure that would not come about for me. And they ended up doing stuff with Wonder Woman 77 and other things. And I thought that was that. But what happens here is Batman comes back around. The Batman '89 comes back around. We have the dynamic of the Flash movie happening with Michael Keaton appearing. We have we have the Batman '89 and Superman '78 comics that come out simultaneously. Batman '89, which is written by Sam Hamm, screenwriter of the first picture, and then drawn by Joe Quinones. And those
which has beautiful art. It was
beautiful art, and those stories take place well after Batman Returns.
Right.
And then there's sort of a moment going on anyway, because we have at the Oscars, we have Michael Keaton riffing with Danny DeVito, and
he was sitting there wearing an ascot.
Yeah, I said, well, he knew it was going to happen because they had discussed it beforehand, and he was trying to figure out what he was going to do. That comes up in the podcast that he just did with the SNL guys, David Spade and Dana Carvey.
Let me ask a question here. Before you started writing your book now,
mm-hmm.
was Was this Batman '89 that Sam Hamm put out? Is this kind of the test market to see if the books are going to float?
I don't know that anything isn't a test market to see if something's going to work. I mean, everything, certainly it was well received. And what happened is DC and Warner Brothers, and that's the same standee, same kind of standee that I had behind me when I was in my office at the newspaper, the college newspaper back in '89. I got one fresh for the release of this book. What happens is I'm writing a novel for Star Wars, The Living Force. My editor, Tom Holler, gets in touch with me and says, you saw the movie 12 times, didn't you? And I said, yeah, and I've got all the ticket stubs. And he said, well, look, we've got an opportunity. We're already doing novels at Random House Worlds with Marvel, where it's like the what if versions of characters. We'd like to actually do something with DC where we're going to zero in just on Batman by Tim Burton, the 2 movies. Are you interested? And I screamed, yes, yes. And it was on email, so you didn't hear it. But I mean, all these years,
did you type caps?
I was going to say, imagine if this were a phone call and John Jackson Miller screamed so loudly that Gotham City, Central City, Star City, Metropolis, Baltimore, California, they all heard it, John.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the only other time I really yelled loud was a few years ago when Ewan McGregor did a video talking about having read and enjoyed the Kenobi novel. Nice. And that was really cool. But no, all these years people have asked me, well, what's the one license you haven't worked on that you'd like to do? And I, having done Star Wars and Star Trek and Simpsons and all these other things, I would reach for things, and I would not quite know where to go on this question, because most of the stuff that I'd like to do wouldn't be financially viable, or nobody would ever ask me to do them. There's not going to be a Max Headroom comic book series because there never was one. That's just not going to happen anytime soon. But Batman is obviously a project that is a dream project. It's just something I never dreamed was possible. And so we got into the discussions of what to do. And I said, well, first of all, what I want to do is I want to go right between the 2 movies. I want to stay out of the way of what they're doing in the comics. I don't want to have them be any confusion there. We are keeping a loose continuity with the comics that will grow tighter. Basically, now that the second series is wrapping up, and the second miniseries is wrapping up, and now that I'm in the middle of the second novel,
and Jeff Martin's giving you a good kudo here.
Let's say, has there been any time the novel becoming a comic run yet? Certainly, it is something where if they were willing to do it, I'd be happy to adapt myself. I don't think I've ever actually done that before, so that would be kind of cool. But anyway, so I said, let me stay in between the 2 movies. Let me actually be a direct sequel to the first movie, which is the thing most people saw. I'm going to hug the first film. We're going to set the book several months after Batman. And then what we're going to do is I suggested, let me do something where I can tackle these questions that I had in my review in 1989. These questions, and also I had this theory that I wrote in Comics Buyer's Guide in 1999 in one of my columns of how the Joker could possibly have survived if you wanted to try to do something. And I said, let me do this, and let me we'll bring in a new villain, and we discuss what villains they were using in the comics, and there's the one villain in Batman Resurrection that we basically are talking about. The other one is really a surprise. The others are really a surprise, and we won't discuss them here. But Clayface, we wanted to do our version of Clayface, And I decided I would do something that was rooted in the 1930s, or actually early 1940s version of Basil Carlo as an actor. But I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a twist on it. So first of all, he's not the shambling mound, because they didn't have that back then. They wouldn't have had the CGI to be able to do Clayface in 1989 either. And then what I said is, let me do something where, Tim Burton, if Tim Burton did this, I was always saying to myself, what would Tim Burton do? And if he were to do something, I could very easily see it being a movie that wallowed in acting and film history and the theater scene in Gotham City. And I could also see Carlo being a tragic figure, that it would be sad. One of my favorite reviews of Batman Returns is Gene Siskel talking about how this is an unusual superhero movie, and that we're really hoping that all these characters who are broken inside come to some kind of peace, some kind of resolution, because none of them wanted what happened to them to happen to them. He actually, there's a line that I can't find in any of his reviews, but I think he said it in one of these places, where he said it was an opera about loneliness. And I said, okay, this is what I want to try to do with Clayface. This is a figure who, the way that these the Batman movies work, Batman is kind of the number 2 or number 3 star in the pictures, because we have so much time being spent with the villains, and this is kind of the same here. Although we do have quite a bit of Batman, we have quite a bit of Bruce Wayne, a lot of Bruce Wayne in what I would say is kind of a unique presentation of him, because the Bruce Wayne that we've got in the novel rather in the movies is much different from other Bruce Waynes we've seen. Michael Keaton is not trying to pretend to be a millionaire playboy to put people off the scent. We see Bruce Wayne in Max Schreck's office and Christopher Walken's office in the next film, saying he and the mayor are going to stop him from building a power plant. He's very interested in the civic life of Gotham City. And so it's a different kind of Bruce Wayne. He has a different kind of a relationship with Alfred. Our Commissioner Gordon, the Pat Hingle Commissioner Gordon, is much older than most of the other Commissioner Gordons we've seen. And so I said, okay, this book will also be about how does somebody like that react to there being a Batman in town? How does Batman respond to him? The dynamic of their relationship, I think, is really rewarding in this book. Because
John, let me ask a question.
Sure thing.
So, in the course of doing this book, talk about the process of re-engaging with the time for the book.
Well, I'm already there anyway. I've lived. I've lived. The line on my website, farwaypress.com, I say I strip mine my childhood for a living. So I pretty much, anybody who keeps all the ticket stubs from 1989 can get back there pretty darn easily.
So you've lived in 1989 for 36 years, and I'm just pushing 38 right now. Congratulations, man!
I appreciate it. Well, there you go. Well, I remember where I saw these pictures, what I was doing. I would remember everything. I decided what I would try to do is I would write this book pretending there had been a novel coming out in the fall of 1989. What if you could have done a novel in the fall of 1989 that felt, or rather that was aware of the events of Batman Returns? Wouldn't have been possible. It wasn't written yet, but I can do it because we're kind of there. It should feel like it. And so I'm constantly, there's no references for anything after 1989 for sure, but also I'm trying to keep in mind the aesthetic. that Burton has got, which is sort of a mix of the 40s and the 80s, because you do have 1940s dress on a lot of characters, but the main characters are dressed more modern. Bruce Wayne, Vicky Vale dressed more modern. You have Robert Wool's character Alexander Knox is in a fedora and trench coat, but he's also got a tape recorder, handheld tape recorder. So I was always trying to kind of triangulate between all of these things. I did watch some scenes of the movie again just to make sure that I had the order of events in particular scenes exactly right. But otherwise, I kind of had time to memorize the film. So,
hey, John, I'm going to actually step in and interrupt a little bit.
Sure.
And as the president of CB4K, just say thank you for being here. You and I have talked before, actually, so you're very familiar to me. And Carlin, I was listening early on, and I saw you pull up a book, so I went into my own man cave.
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Get out of town, Mark.
My own near mint copy of this book. John, Don and Maggie knew me. I actually own All in Color for a Dime by Don. My letters were published in the Buyer's Guide many times. And when you were in Comic Chron, you still are, but so we've communicated many times. I would know you, and you interface with a couple 100,000 people a week. So obviously, but I wanted to say just thank you so much for going through it. I was waiting for you to talk about Marshall Rogers and his Gothamscapes, but that's a different discussion.
Well, it's obviously we're cramming 85 years into an hour, but it's a big subject. But yeah, no, I definitely appreciate being able to do the thing for the charity. One of the fun things is just knowing everybody. I know Carlin because we went to high school. Through Carlin, I discovered a convention where I ended up meeting the movie reviewer for my hometown newspaper, the Memphis Commercial Appeal, and they put us. Do I have it here? Let's see. I had it somewhere. Here we go. The day the book came out, I was on the front page of my hometown newspaper.
You the man, John. You the man.
And I never thought that would happen without the text of the story being.
Yeah, if you see me on the cover of my homepage newspaper, it'll probably be handcuffs and a different picture. But
I was going to say because it's Memphis, I always thought it would be Elvis statue topples kills man.
Good Lord.
But yeah, so again, I very much appreciate being able to do this. The Batman Resurrection is in stores now, audiobook, ebook. It's selling like gangbusters. We're already through our third printing, and then this fall we have the
Revolution,
sequel, Batman Revolution, which I'm in the middle of writing.
Congratulations!
Now. It's been a wonderful experience, wonderful ride. And people can find me on my website, farawaypress.com. I am John Jackson Miller on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. I am JJM Faraway on the Bird site, whatever they're calling it these days. And then I'm also farawaypress.com on Blue Sky.
Well, Lord knows we're more than willing to give John Jackson Miller all the grants. So, keep writing these books, brother, because I'm loving being in this world again, because it makes me feel like I'm 6 years old watching this bad boy in a VHS tape that I watched so hard that I broke the tape, John. I broke the freaking tape. I kid you not.
Well, they were cheap, and that was another thing about it. Batman 89 basically brought us the cheap VHS tape.
I know you guys have to close out, but who did that artwork of the Clayface image you showed with the
that is Joe Quinones. That is the artist on.
Got it. Yep.
Yes, the artist on Batman 89, and he actually drew some of my covers for Knight Errant, which was a comic series I did at Dark Horse, it's one of those things where we communicated back and forth quite a bit on things.
That's an incredible image.
John, if you ever want to film anything regarding Clayface, please come to Winnipeg because we have a huge, rich theater district.
Oh, very good.
And right from vaudeville days, Charlie Chaplin performed here.
Charlie Chaplin? Get out of here.
Yes. There's a history with him in Winnipeg that I can go into at another time. But the theater that was in that artwork looked exactly like downtown Winnipeg.
The theater scene is real big in this novel, and I even sent a copy of the book to my high school drama teacher, Mr. Ford, because I'm riffing on The Tempest and Pygmalion, both of which I actually read in his class.
Jeff says, is that image a poster yet? Because we need it.
I don't know what the plans are for it. I know, and this is something I guess I can now announce, that I will be at Emerald City Comic Con, and so will the artist Joe Quinones, and so will the editor of the DC Comics for '89, Andrew Marino too. So
Nice.
So that I have no idea what's coming out or where, but you'll find the three of us there, and then I have some more announcements that are coming up later on.
Excellent.
Do you have any other upcoming cons that you're going to be at?
That one is the only one I can announce right now. That is, in fact, I just got the clearance yesterday. So, but no, I have a bunch that are coming up and a bunch that are also in process.
Well, listen, we're going to be at C2E2. We're going to be announcing that we have our CB4K award event, which we announce our awards annually. And we so if you find out you're going to be there, just drop me
I am almost always at C2E2.
Thought so.
I mean, it's one of the biggest shows on earth for a reason. And honestly, John, with all these announcements you're dropping, even though some you can't announce as of yet because of certain NDAs, we're definitely going to open a few more cases of the champagne for you. Will that be all right?
That'll work. No, C2E2 is relatively easy. I'm in Wisconsin, so it's
agreed. I'm aware.
Well, guys, I want to thank everybody for having a great time and a great panel. I mean, this has been a good evening. And Mark, do you want to actually do the do the spiel for Comics for Kids?
You know what? I'm so used to doing it that when Willow did it earlier, I was so blown away that I just want to watch Willow do it. I mean, there's a reason, that Canada is its own country because she's so good.
Wow.
All right. So I want to apologize. I've been showing you the prices, what we have for donations in Canadian funds earlier. So this is the tally in American funds.
US dollars.
So $322 we have raised so far in US dollars. It does look a little bit different in Canadian funds, and again, I apologize for that little snafu. But
so keep giving.
Yeah.
If you guys are feeling generous, that it would be awesome to see that tally go up. We will have that up past February. The first week of February, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, go to because I can't switch studios.
What's your line again? What's the line? Hold on a second. Let me call our producer on the left side of my screen. Never mind. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. I'm just kidding.
I'm having a weird tech issue right now, so I can't switch studios and show the proper links. But if you go to the Multiverse fundraiser on our Facebook page, you can go to our links through there and donate onto our website, and even go to the CB4K website as well for donations.
The fundraiser link is pinned at the top of the fundraiser Facebook page.
Yep. It's all there. You can't miss it. It's on the marquee at the biggest hotels, biggest resorts in the world, including Canada, apparently. And by the way, Mark, it's good to meet you, by the way, because I've heard so many things about this charity, the wonderful things you people are doing over there. And, Mark I guess you're the Wizard of Oz, right? You're the one
now it works. I'm sorry.
But it's good to meet you nonetheless, Mark.
Listen, if you knew me, you'd change your tune, but I will appreciate the sentiments anyway.
Oh, no worries.
Listen, Ryan, likewise, one thing you learn, and John can share this, you find out as you go through this industry, it's all the same people. We may switch roles, we may do different things, but you keep bumping into the same head. So
sometimes at the same companies over and over again.
Well,
the same company Christmas party at Nakatomi Plaza, isn't that right, John?
It's a delight to be part. And I thank you for, I said this earlier, and I say it to all of you, including John, because we have chatted before. But when you work with our charity, it's like Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. So, welcome aboard, gentlemen and ladies. So we're on for a fun ride.
Excellent. All right. So, any closing remarks, Ryan? Where can we find you on social media?
Me? You want to talk about me? I'm just a simple man trying to make his way in the universe. There's a Star Wars quote. What's up, guys? It's all right. We love Batman too. But in case you're wondering who the frack I am, my name is Ryan of Friendly Neighborhood, Not So Spider-Man. But I have a look for it, though. If they ever recast someone, I'll do it. My name is Ryan of Anti-Quote Channel. Follow me there on Twitter, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. We talk about all things geeky, nerdy, movies, TV series. And this kind gentleman, known as John Jackson Miller, has been a guest on Anti-Quote in the past, talking about I'm Batman. And Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars, and other stuff, too.
But I didn't sing.
Exactly. No. John doesn't sing. I do the singing. It's fine. But yeah, we talk about all things. No, it's okay. It's fine. It's no worries, man. John, I got your back, man. We're all Bat fans here. We all run in the same circles. But if you want to catch up on some of the things I'm doing there, we do interviews every week. I do movie watch-alongs where a movie turns a certain age, and we talk about that every week. Check us out. All the links are at Anti-Quote Channel on our YouTube page. So check us out. And it was great to be here. It was great to meet the gentleman known as Mark from Comic Books for Kids. It's great to see John Jackson Miller, the man who deserves all the grants, all the 200-year anniversary parades with all the fake money floating in the wind with Prince music playing in the background and doing this, that, and the other. I trust you, John, and I trust that I am going to be back here again for next season. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, John, I want my boombox back.
Yeah, we want all boomboxes back, brother.
Well, thanks, everybody, and may the Bat Force live long and prosper.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Carlin, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Facebook as Carlin Stewart. You can find me on LinkedIn as the same.
All right. And Mark, where can we find you?
You can't. I'm hiding.
Like I said, he's the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to him.
Just look up any combination of those names, put CB4K, use that. I tried to come up with a real short name for our organization. I think I succeeded. So you can just put CB number 4K. That also works. Comic Books for Kids. Chicago Charity, Comic Book Charity, Mark the Cool Comic Guy, whatever.
Excellent. And John, do you have social media, right?
Yeah, I just did it a while
ago.
You
just did. Yeah. All right. So I'll let you guys get back to your lives, and I appreciate you being here. This is the end of tonight's program, but I hope you guys will come back.
We'll be back on Sunday.
Tune in because we got a lot of cool stuff coming up for tomorrow.
Thanks all.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, guys.
The Multiverse Fundraiser is partnering with Comic Books for Kids to raise money for their cause. Their mission is to provide comic books to children in hospitals and cancer centers across the United States, Canada, and the UK. We believe in the importance of providing stories that promote hope and bravery to kids who are facing things that are scarier than any supervillain. And we truly believe in this cause. To donate, you can either go to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/The Multiverse Fundraiser or directly to comicbooksforkids.org.
The Multiverse Fundraiser would like to thank our sponsors: Earth Dog Studios, Clobberin Comics, The Art of Brian Rodman, Studio Moonfall, Elusive Comics, and of course, the Phoenix Sisters Entertainment Network for hosting this event. Learn how to support these businesses on the MVFR website.